We have to model it for them. If they don't see it, how will they know when they're in a healthy or an unhealthy pattern? And if we don't have it in our own, then we really need to maybe look at why that is.
Welcome to She Leads, a podcast about leadership, faith, and relationships. I'm your host, Thea, and I'm so glad that you decided to tune in today to the continued conversation about healthy relationships, finding hope and strength in the future. As always, you are invited into the conversation, so I hope you'll send your feedback, comments, questions, ideas to sheleadscomments@gmail.com. Also, I want to invite you to visit the She Leads website where you can find your very own She Leads merch like this awesome t-shirt, as well as mugs, learn the She Leads story, as well as make just find ways to support She Leads. And thank you again for joining us. Today, I'm happy to welcome back Whitney Reaves for a continued conversation on healthy relationships. Why don't you reintroduce yourself, Whitney, and then tell me, what are you consuming right now? What are you a fan of?
My name is Whitney Reaves. I'm the Director of Operations at Chapelwood United Methodist Church in Lake Jackson, Texas. I consume podcasts. That's what I have the most time for because I can do it while I'm driving or laundry or whatever. Obviously, I'm a fan of She Leads. But my other favorite one is The Bible for Normal People. That is my favorite podcast. And then a few others that I like are, Radio Lab, Hardcore History, Stuff You Should Know, and then I like Nateland.
You like Nateland too?
Hilarious.
Oh my gosh,
yes.
I never met another Natelander,
Yes.
a folk. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I think I've shared before, Nateland is one of my biggest inspirations for this podcast, and it's my number one consuming. So I love it.
Yeah.
Yay! We're Natelanders. I'm so excited. So awesome. All right, so we're going to continue our discussion. If you didn't catch Whitney's first episode, go back and take a listen about surviving trauma, if that's something you're interested in. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to build healthy relationships. And this really, to me, stems from you as a parent. And so how would you describe yourself as a parent?
So I'm a parent of a 17-year-old senior in high school and a 13-year-old, a girl and a boy, right? And they're very different. I would say my thing is that I'm trying to help them be independent so that they don't need me to do everything for them. So I am happy for them to fail and struggle now while they're in the house with us, while the stakes are lower, figure some of these things out while they still have a safety net. So we do not jump in and bail them out. We let them kind of flounder a little bit, and sometimes that's hard to watch them do that. But our hope is that it makes them more resilient. I'm also fairly permissive, they would say. I think we work on letting things go that are not such a big deal. And then one other thing, we have one rule in our house: we don't hit. No one hits anyone. Our kids were not spanked. We don't hit each other. We don't hit the dog. And it's non-negotiable. And I don't let them hit each other. And when they do, because they're children, right, we talk about it and we talk about why we don't do it. So that's probably my big hard and fast rule, besides also being honest with each other. But
yeah. So your daughter is the 17-year-old. What are some concerns about raising a young girl today?
So much of what happens online. It was different when I was in high school, 20-something, nearly 30 years ago at this point, right? She, not just her, all girls. There's so much, we see everybody's curated versions of themselves, and we compare that to our actual reality, which is very messy. And I don't think that that's fair to them to have a constant online comparison and no break from it, right? So that phone goes everywhere with them. look what so-and-so posted and who they left out of the picture. Like everybody got together over here and left out so-and-so. And right, that's hurtful. Some of those things you could leave them behind, but it's with them 24 hours a day if you would let it be that way.
And I think the challenges too is when, especially for young girls today, and is that the online presence has always been there, right? So you and I welcomed in online. We had a little, then we had a little more, and now we have a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able, and even probably I would say we still probably have trouble distinguishing between what is real and what is not, but we've had some experience with the non-online world. And with young girls especially, even those who present as being authentic online are still curated, planned, edited. I mean, to just be completely transparent, this is brought to you as just an honest conversation, which I do strive to be honest, but we have notes. I mean, this is planned out. This conversation started months ago. We've had time to think about what we're going to say, how we're going to respond, mentally and emotionally prepare for it. And then also physically, right? We took time to present this self today. We both have on makeup. Our hair is done. Like this reality that while this is an authentic conversation, it has also been curated. We have the ability to edit. We have, all of these things. And that I think is a harder piece for young girls to notice today because they don't have the real experience to compare it to. This is kind of all they know is this constant, presented content. Yeah.
Yeah. It's comparison. And we all do that, right? Yeah. But it's different, I think. And I think it's hard for parents who didn't grow up with it to even understand it. I don't even understand all the social media platforms. I struggle with Instagram and everything that came after it. Did I like somebody's picture? Did I not? Did I view it? Did I share it? Right. So I don't even understand what they're looking at, much less how it could be affecting them.
Yeah. When we talked in preparation again, about why you would be willing to share the story you told earlier, you brought up, for younger girls today, that was a piece of it. And so what is it that you're hoping that we could do to help these young women seek a healthy relationship? And I even go as far as say with themselves and then also with others and the world.
So I think it starts with internal, right? So you're strong, you're capable of handling whatever it is, right? You don't have to be saved. You don't have to, yes, we need community, but internally you're enough. So building confidence and building resilience before you get messages from the world about different things. I think, but a bigger thing is that building community, right? So isolation is where a lot of things thrive, not just abuse. Obviously that's what we were talking about, but addiction is the same and other things as well. So getting to know each other in the real world, putting phones down, seeing people in person. And that's been hard for these kids who spent 2 years of high school in a pandemic when they didn't get to do any of the things that they like to do, right? There were not a lot of sports and theater and singing and all the community building things that they liked. They spent their community building was online, and it's not a substitute for real in-person community.
Yeah. And as you say that, I think about how I've heard so many times that when we go to the app, we build a pathway in our brain, right? We're wanting something and we build this pathway. And the more that we go there to get it, that pathway gets deeper, gets worn down, gets more visible and real, and tends to be your go-to. This is in no indication if it actually fills that need. It's just the more you go to it. And as you talk about the pandemic, and these young brains who were really, deepening this immediate response, that pathway between I want community, I want connection, and the internet, whether it be Zoom, socials, texting, whatever, that got just really deep, in that time. And at such a young age, I just had that realization of like, wow, talk about and then it just, where we are now, years later, we're still just continuing to deepen that pathway.
Yeah.
Again, not even maybe recognizing that it's not filling the need.
It's not, and it's isolating. When you're isolated, there isn't anybody to notice warning signs and again, I'm talking about because kids, teens have intimate partner violence just the same way adults do. And they're not married, they don't live together, but it's just as, and the warning signs are similar. But if you've been isolated, or if it's the whole relationship's online, there's nobody to see the warning signs. Someone's got to be plugged in to go, this is a problem.
Yeah.
And if you don't see it, you certainly couldn't name it.
Well, and even this idea that if you, like you mentioned, you have a completely online relationship, whether this be with a friend, someone you follow, recognizing you're not seeing anything that's not online, right? And so if we're presenting our most curated self, then that means there is this other self that isn't even seen by the person who believes they're in a relationship with you. And how little of the story you're really getting. And even if you're texting all day, every day, you're not in the room, you're not seeing the interactions, hearing, you're not a part of all that. And so you're missing so much of who this person is because the relationship has been isolated to this one.
Yeah. My son's phone, I had 190 text messages in a group message, and none of them said any, no, it's 13, right? None of them said anything. Those are not, it's a group of, I don't know how many are in there. Maybe there's 10 of guys, right? I'm going, you guys didn't do anything, but this is a lot of brain power spent on 190. I don't get that many in a month. I don't know, right? I'm going, it's insane. It's insane. So,
wow.
Yes.
And I think I like hyperventilate when I see 13 unread in a group text. I'm like, what is all this I have to figure out?
It was the red circle.
Yeah.
I'm going, was that from today? He goes, yeah. What?
Wow. Yeah.
That's a lot. How could you be present with the people in the room when you've got 190 text messages to read?
Yeah. So, what do we need? We talked a little bit about the challenges. What do we need to prepare young women, young men, young people for healthy relationships today, knowing that these factors are out there and a part of it?
We have to model it for them. If they don't see it, how will they know when they're in a healthy or an unhealthy pattern? And if we don't have it in our own, then we really need to maybe look at why that is, right? If we're not setting, because they're going to repeat what they see. They're going to model what they've spent time around. And I think not just their parents, but other friends, spending time with people who are also showing them healthy relationships, not just their parents. And then putting the phone down. I would love to mindlessly scroll and unplug at the end of a long day, but I'm not teaching them and that. And so we're really, really, and it is a very, and the little one who's not little anymore, he's taller than me, will call us out on it. Hey, remember we said during this time we're going to have, you're right. And that means all devices. That's your phone and your laptop and the TV, right? It can't just be your phone. So you're right. We said that. And we're going to put this down and we're going to be intentional about time spent together. So it's difficult. I won't sit up here and say that we're perfect at it. But for me, I think if we don't show that to them, how will they know?
Two things that came to mind is I remember reading this big Barna research study about How do you increase faith in children, right? How do you disciple children and young people, this big hope of the church and really families, and it was so interesting. One of the number one indicators, I mean, they all say, of course, that parents have to have a lived out faith, not we show up to church, we check the boxes, but a lived out faith. Faith comes up in conversation. Your kids see you praying, reading the Bible. You talk about these things. You talk about your doubts and struggles. That was a huge one. But when I talked about actual practices, one was one of the greatest indicators of children's faith development is that their parents regularly welcome non-family members into the home. And so when you said that, like, you got to model, so you've got to model these relationships. You've got to model what it means to actively try to get to know someone, to hear their story, to make space for them, to allow their difference of opinion or things like that, like that and so if we want our children to have healthy relationships, we got to have healthy relations, but we also have to allow our children to see them and to witness what it takes, and I would go as far as like, let them witness a disagreement.
Oh, I did have that in our carefully planned conversation. I think it is important for them to see this is how you have a conflict. This is how you resolve the conflict, be it between parents or friends or you name it, right? That these are healthy ways that we resolve these things.
Yeah.
And if they don't ever see a conflict, that's not helpful either.
Right.
And, whether it's addiction and abuse, family of origin stuff, whatever. One thing that we did not have a lot of was spending time with other families because a lot of these things, they're isolating. And so we probably go overboard, right, with ours. Let's going places or inviting people in, right? We try to, very rare are we staying at home alone. So I think it's important to see, that what your family relationship looks like, what other families look like, what they're doing, and let them see you, because that's how, again, you're not hiding these things.
Right. I was just thinking about anyone who's like newly married, and if one person comes from a maybe even high volatile home where we can then say unhealthy conflict resolution, compared to someone whose parents never fought, I think everyone can, that is maybe worse, right? Because you're not even acknowledging that there is a fight to have, much less how to do it healthy and how to do it well. And
I would say I come from a house where no one ever fought in public. And I would say my husband probably comes from one where every single thing was discussed, right? Nothing was off the table. And so you bring those two together and figuring out how to make that work. We've been together for 20 years. So obviously we figured it out somehow, but and making sure, hey, I think that actually, you're acting like.
Yeah. Well, and actually I think my husband and I are the same too. Opposite, where he comes from a family where we don't talk about anything. And over here, we're throwing stuff in the yard, every week. And so again, like, let's learn a happy medium. But I can also see moments where my daughter, I remember I was complaining about a boss and a job, and her answer was, "So you're going to quit?" And not like degrading, but like, obviously. And I was like, "No, we're going to work through it. I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to try." And I remember her just kind of being like, "Wow, like, oh, that's an option." So when you have a disagreement with someone, you don't have to walk away.
Right.
And I even think that sometimes it's important. Now, I think there's healthy conflict, there's healthy ways to disagree, but also like it's, there's moments, same thing. I remember when my daughter found out that my husband and I decided not to have children, and she was like, "Well, I just think you would be a good mom." And I was like, "Well, I think I'd be a good mom too, but I made this choice together. We made this choice for our future." I remember her being like, "Wow, like, like it's a two-party system here. We both feel is important and valid and a part of the conversation, and how important, like, even that, which is a very private matter, being able to share with her that, hey, this is a discussion that we had for multiple years. Like, it wasn't we decided on Friday.
Yeah.
You know, like we had this ongoing conversation before we got married, when we got married, after we got married. We still check in on it sometimes. Hey, are we still good on that? Like, or do you have anything? And not saying we change it, but if you have some feelings, let's talk about it. Like being open with that and how important it is. Like you said, just to model. You mentioned bringing in other families and welcoming them. Is that maybe a place of support for you? Are you finding support other
and
places?
Then one thing I was thinking about, so my kids go to a private school, and one of their rules there is no phones. You can't bring a phone at all, not on property, until you're in ninth grade. And between ninth and 12th grade, you check it in the office when you arrive, and it's turned off. Well, you can leave it on, and the office staff can read the head administrator can read your text all day, right? But most of them would turn it off. You turn it off, and you get it back when you're going to the parking lot, right? So at lunch, they aren't scrolling on their phones. They are talking to each other. And I think it's great. I love it. If I need them, I can I call the school, right? It's not that they can't be reached during the day, but I love that they don't have that phone. I mean, I still want her to have it because she drives, right? I don't want her to not know where she is, but I love that. Mm-hmm. And that's very old school and not very common these days. Most people, their kids have that phone all day long. Texting mom in the middle of the day when something doesn't go well, right? So that's, for me.
Do you want to say more about the school? Because I know that you and your husband were part of making that happen. So just share a quick blurb.
10 years ago, a little more than 10 years ago, we decided we had nothing to do, and we just help open a brand new school. And so that's what we did. That it didn't exactly happen that way. University Model School in southern Brazoria County. So the next closest one was in Sugar Land at the time. And families were commuting, and they said, hey, if there's enough interest, let's start one down here so we're not driving over an hour 3 days a week. And so, they go to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, all day. They do assignments at home on Tuesday, Thursday. It's a college prep type schedule. But what it really did, that's good. It's important, and they've gotten a great education. But it's given time back. So they're... My daughter works independently. My son comes with me to the office. You will very frequently see him greeting people at the front desk of Chapelwood United Methodist Church while he's doing schoolwork. But it's allowed them to, he has volunteered with dementia care because it's going on during the day at church, and she's been able to help out at the preschool because things are going on during the day. And they don't have homework because they have assignments they complete on Tuesday, Thursday. So evenings are not taken up with homework. Weekends are not totally taken up with homework. And there's more time for parental influence versus just being gone, 40 plus hours a week at school and then activities and then more schoolwork. So for us, that's been our biggest thing. And like-minded parents, it's a small school. It's 50 to 60 kids in there somewhere, but growing.
Yeah, I love it.
So we both serve on the board, ministry board at the school.
Say the name one more time, and where can people find it?
Foundation Preparatory Academy in Lake Jackson, Texas. It's inside. We are very, very lucky, very blessed. I will say not lucky. Sorry, you can edit that out. We're very blessed that a church lets us share space with them. That it wouldn't be possible without community partners. And in this case, Covenant Presbyterian, Evangelical Presbyterian is the church where we are sharing some space in their facility, which has been nice.
I was just going to share about your son being in the office, a couple times a week. My biggest memory is it was the week of Ash Wednesday, or after Ash Wednesday, and we had written all of these things that we wanted to give up that year, and we laid them at the cross in the middle of the Ash Wednesday service. So it must have been the next Tuesday. Your son was in the office, and I was like, hey, will you help me with this? Like, yes. And so he and I took every single one of those things people were laying down, and we made this paper chain that we, wrapped the altar with, which I just thought was a brilliant idea. But really, the best part about it was that he got to see, oh, this wasn't just something we did. This was real. It had intention, and he got to be a part of it. He made that altar come to life for the next week. He was, and that was just simply because he was there and he was willing to help. You know, he wasn't like, no, I'm done with my work. Can I have my phone? You know, he was like, of course, let's do. And he was so excited. You would have thought I asked him, you know, will you help me find some gold? I mean, he was thrilled. And just again, then he's seeing also what a healthy work relationship looks like, or even maybe some unhealthy. I'm not trying to, you know, but like office dynamics and how you deal with people. Like you said, greeting people who come in, and then this opportunity with the gathering play. Oh, that makes my heart so happy.
He was supposed to be helping with VBS, and he just kind of wandered in, and they let him stay, and he met a nice guy named Dave, and they hung out. And am I supposed to say Dave's? I don't know. Okay.
What a blessing. I'm sure that is for Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he liked it. He liked it. And then we talked about, okay, well, did you understand? Let's talk about this population, because if you're young, you don't understand that, right? So if you're going to help again, let's talk about why these people might not remember you, or just different things like that. But yeah, he enjoyed it. He but he wouldn't, the opportunities present themselves that wouldn't have been there.
Right. I love that. I love that. It sounds like you are finding some really great places to, again, that modeling those healthy relationships and building new relationships, and then inviting your children to come and be a part of them too. You know, I know that was something a year ago or so, you and I got together for lunch, and your daughter was like, how come I don't get to go? You know, just this, and that was just a beautiful way of like, I'm Pastor Thea's friend too. I mean, I want to, you know.
She'd be here right now if she wasn't in class.
We have a relationship. You know, and just that complete understanding of this isn't this distant person. She's a part of our life. And what can other leaders do to support parents who are modeling healthy relationships? What can others do?
I think showing up for those kids when they have a game or a play or performance, whatever it is, or just greeting them. Hey, I'm glad you showed up to volunteer at this event, right? Because they could be at home playing video games or hanging out with their friends or whatever it is, right? When a young person makes an effort to be at something like that, I think just recognizing it, you know, there was the Barna research, sticky faith came out of some of that, right? That 5 adults. It really makes a difference to hear it from somebody besides mom and dad, and knowing that they, you know, that person, I know they'll be there, you know, because they've shown up before, and they said they would, you know, support me in this. So when they actually do, that's huge for them.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is if we want young people to have healthy relationships as adults, they need healthy relationships with adults now, right? Would you say that's true? Like they need to, if they're going to know how to do this as grownups, they need to do it with grownups now.
Right.
Yeah, as they're still learning and stuff. So how can listeners connect with you if they like what they've heard, want to learn more, or just reach out and say thanks?
Yeah, so Chapelwood United Methodist Lake Jackson is on Facebook. Foundation Preparatory Academy in Lake Jackson is also on Facebook. And as I'm an admin for both of those pages, if you message them, I will see it. That's probably the easiest way.
Awesome. Well, once again, I do welcome your comments, your feedback, places that you are finding and or needing support in helping to model and build healthy relationships in your own life as well as with your children. Feel free to reach out to sheleadscomments@gmail.com. Be sure to check out the She Leads website. Those will both be in the show notes, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. She Leads is produced by me, Thea Curry-Fuson. Recorded and edited by Pearland Podcast Studios. All thoughts and expressions shared by the guests are theirs and not the organizations they're affiliated with. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out next week to continue the conversation on She Leads.